Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with What Are You Listening to Lately? And most recently, one of the things that I've been listening to lately was this really fine Naxos disc of music by John Knowles Paine. Paine was a good composer. I feel, the last name comes in for a certain amount of ridicule, like he was a Paine, that kind of thing. But no, he was a solid composer, a real craftsman who wrote some lovely music in the 1870s and thereabouts. He lived from 1839 to 1906. So he was a genuine romantic, conservative, a Germanic composer of the sort of more or less the Leipzig school, but more open-minded than that, I suppose. And the works here are worth hearing. The big one, the big number, is his first symphony in C minor from 1872 through 75. I reviewed this disc on ClassicsToday.com. You can go have a look at that review if you like, but it's worth talking about because, he gets very, very little attention. And it really isn't fair because, there are plenty of European composers whose music was no more adventurous than Paine's, and they get plenty of attention. Max Bruch, for example. I mean, there's one, and we could probably dig up a few more if we tried hard enough. Paine only wrote 2 symphonies. His output does not seem to have been huge in the orchestral department, but the C minor symphony is a good piece. The inner movements are particularly attractive. That's usually the way it goes, isn't it? When they have to do something in like sonata form, all of a sudden, the gears sort of seize up. But he knew what he was doing. I mean, the symphony really has very few dead spots. The finale is particularly propulsive. And it's not, his C minor, as I said in my review over to Classics Today, it's not Beethoven's C minor. It's not that kind of C minor. It's gentle pathos, that kind of stuff. But the music moves. And that's really, really important. The inner movements, say, what is it? Let's see, an adagio and a scherzo, which he places second, which is a little bit adventurous. Those are really distinguished. They've got some lovely, lovely tunes, and they're very well orchestrated, albeit conservatively, of course. When composers in the 1870s wrote symphonies, they tended to be really austere in terms of their orchestration and whatnot. When they wrote tone poems and overtures and other things, well, they kind of loosened up a bit. They let their hair down a little bit. And that's what we hear here. For example, we've got the overture to Shakespeare's As You Like It, which is from 1876. It's charming. It's tuneful. It's very well written. And his symphonic poem from Shakespeare's The Tempest, which was written, it's his Opus 31, was written in 1877. It has some lovely writing for like harps and other things. I mean, he's not totally anal retentive when it comes to his sound and his harmony, although the notes describe this as a Lisztian tone poem, which it's absolutely not a Lisztian tone poem. There isn't anything as daring as what Liszt was doing around the same time. But, it doesn't sound terribly stormy. Where it has a storm, it begins with a storm. I mean, I've heard stormier storms, but it gets the job done, and it's attractive, and it will hold your attention. And as long as you're not, so eager to compare it to other composers whose styles were very different, then you're going to enjoy this. I mean, I did. I enjoyed hearing it again. And you know that you're onto something good if you can come back to it after a pause and still, get pleasure out of it. And this is a very, very nice recording. And it's also worth keeping in mind, 1872, 75, the symphony per se had not achieved its late romantic flourishing as of yet. I mean, this is the same general period. Dvorak had written his first few, but he wasn't known as a composer. Tchaikovsky wasn't known as a composer in 1872 in the way he later became. Brahms's first symphony was, sort of still fresh. What was the date? What was the date for the Brahms first? I can just tell you what it was. After working on it for 350 years, when Brahms finally released it. Symphony number 1, Brahms, Opus 68. Yes, he spent 14 years working on it. And it was finishing touches, took 21 years. I don't know. It's crazy. 1876. Yes, 1876. So Brahms wasn't even there. And when you think about it, when you really think about it, so Brahms, so this is 1872 to 75. So it's just before Brahms's first symphony came out. So it's a 40-minute long, big romantic symphony, and it predates most of the major European symphonists in terms of both the time of its composition and also their becoming famous, as symphonists. And it's a very, very fine effort, all things considered. So I would give this a shot. I really would. It's easier to enjoy if you really pay attention and take into account the bigger historical picture, the historical perspective. And I think you'll see that there's something there. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care. Oh, wait a minute. The performances. The Ulster Orchestra with JoAnn Falletta. First class. Absolutely first class. I mean, make sure to mention that. I mean, the first symphony's been recorded before. It was on New World originally, and quite well. But this is beautiful. And Falletta is such a reliable guide to unusual repertoire. And the Ulster Orchestra, of course, made glorious recordings for Chandos. I mean, they're very, very good. So yes, that's a good thing too. I'm glad I didn't forget to mention that. Goodness gracious. Let's try this again. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.